Hello, good evening, and welcome to Talking Dogs on this Monday evening. As you can see, Ian Fortune is away yet again. Another well-earned break. He's off to Spain for a week. But we have another familiar face in Tommy Lyons, and he's going to help us look back at the weekend's action. Some terrific action, I'm sure you will agree. Tommy, obviously we're going to start at Limerick, the Kirby Memorial final. €80,000 up for grabs this Saturday night. It's going to be live on Virgin Media TV at 9 p.m. So if you can't make it to the track, do tune in, but try your best to make it. Some superstars will be on show. So Tommy, starting with the first semi-final, look, 8 Point Ranger, what a dog this is for Graham Holland. He's getting better and better. He's only been beaten a couple of times in his career, and he's won his last 5. He was very, very impressive there in Limerick on Saturday night.
I think Barry he stepped up not just on the clock because it was 27.98, which is obviously a huge run. He stepped up because he was a little bit sharper at the boxes, and like this is Graham Holland all over, isn't it? Improving them through the
Yeah,
competition. Like the dog's raw ability, you can get away with a certain amount in the early stages of competition, particularly a puppy competition, if by doing things slightly wrong. Not away with too much now either at this level, but you get away with a little bit of it. But I just thought the 126. He had done a 133, 129, 128, back to 137 in the semi-finals when he had to battle on to beat Lemon Joey. But this was deeply impressive. He just the way he drove around the opening bend and was clear of really really good dogs. I thought maybe there's a dog I liked. I thought might be overpriced, but when I spoke to Ian last week, we were talking about the fact that the draw wasn't ideal. Um, Ballymac Jester. There's a dog of real ability, a dog I can see going deep into the Derby later in the year. But you know what he has? He has that horrible blend of a little bit of early pace, but not enough of
yeah, I know
it.
what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah.
he's a beautiful powerhouse. He stays really really well. He but you nearly say when you pop out if you don't break really well, stay where you are and mind yourself in the first two bends and let that power kick in. And he just actually he broke too well, couldn't get to the bend, got all sorts of trouble. But 8 Point Ranger was away and gone. It didn't matter what was going to go and chase him. You're not going to pick dogs up in 27.98, and not the way 8 Point Ranger was running. Like he's a seriously fast dog. Ian and I talked last week about Fun in the Run, who tracked inside and out when he won a heat last weekend. And we referenced that it was a bit similar to what Cool Hoffa tried to do in that famous Derby semi-final. He was tracking outside, went to go inside. And actually, I was only thinking about this actually. I don't know why. It just came into my head during the week. Um Cool Hoffa, like you need to be of exceptional ability to get away with it at any level. But try to get away with the Derby level, you've got to be like utterly out of this ridiculous top drawer that very few greyhounds ever get as far as. And Kulvani Coffey probably was that. But I tell you what, he is a fair tool in this son, 8 Point Ranger. He's a proper greyhound that's only going to improve as he progresses. I just love how he's done it week to week so far.
Yeah, he was very good. And look, yeah, as you're right to mention Caul and Tommy Lyons. He has started off fairly well in his stud career. And if he was to get the winner of the Kirby, obviously that propels him to new levels. Just a quick mention of his dam. She was a 28.56 winner around Youghal. You know how good of a spin that is. She's also the dam of a dog called Untold Euro, who won plenty of races over in the UK. So he's got a fine pedigree. Speaking of dogs with a fine pedigree, the dog that finished second in this race, Pain Barrier for the Matthews, they know how to win a Kirby or two, believe me. Very well bred, a son of Ballymac Bulger and Dolce Vita. I think it took this dog maybe 6 races to win a race around Shelbourne Park, but when he did, he won it in 28.15. Moved off a little bit from trap 1, but he is improving, Tom, isn't he? He ran well to qualify.
Oh, he's improving all right. I mean, these are deeply inexperienced. His little brother, we get onto him in a minute, won the other heat. Um, like it's a serious run because when I was looking at Drewby's deploy going down the back, and you kind of going, my God, you've got to be running hard to keep Drewby's deploy behind you. There's a really fast dog, another really fast dog. I mean, the one thing we did talk about in the earlier stages of competition was how much stamina there is, how much power there is in this competition this year. And Pain Barrier, while he can go up, well, he's probably one who's probably more blessed with middle pace.
Yeah,
And
I'd agree
there's a
with that.
lot. There was just so much stamina. I thought in that heat again the other night. I thought it was a savage run to really. He moves off a little bit, not too much. I think when two kind of moves gets pulled back a little bit, it kind of gives him a little bit of leeway to do to
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 shift that
kind of
little
move
bit to
off a
the
little
right.
bit
Yeah.
further into maybe into three maybe. But I mean, he's going past what was it down in what was in sixth? Was it Bride?
Brightside Bill, yeah, Brightside Bill.
Yeah, Brightside Bill moved past him down to the third bend. I thought it was a really good run. Dribby's deploy obviously flew home as well and ran another cracking race. But Payne Barrier is a serious dog. He'll be able to turn closer to it a little bit more experience.
Yeah, Drippy's deploy you just touched on there. He's the Newcastle Puppy Derby winner. For me, I don't think he's got it 100% right down here so far, or down in Limerick so far. And again, I thought he was a little bit tardy away from traps. Showed decent early pace, didn't get the clearest runs around the opening bends. But to pick up a dog of Brightside Bill's quality, look, I still think Drippy's deploy has a big chance in this final.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah, because he's actually in the early stages, when you watch Toby's deploy, you can say that he's a middle to wide seed. But when you watch him at the first bend, you go, oh, he's going to get himself in trouble at nights. He just tends to cut across a little bit at the first bend. He's seriously fast, but you know what? He missed it completely the other night. He showed some pace to get by Brightside Bill, and he was only that he got a bump. He wouldn't quite have got to Payne Barrier, but only that he got a bit of a bump off Brightside Bill as he went around him on the outside coming home. He'd have been a little bit closer again. Like he's seriously fast. I'm interested that you're making a case from next week because we're going to have an odds-on favorite in Fate Point Ranger, or most likely we're going to have an odds-on favorite in Fate Point Ranger. But I'm not sure it's just that cut and dry that final.
Yeah, it's not. Well, as we'll touch on the final in a minute, but look, if you're doing
Hmm.
126 and 27.98, there's nothing going to beat you off the front. Just to mention a couple of the others, Brightside Bill, what a consistent dog he's been. That's the first time he's been out of the first three in his life when it really, really matters to get to a final of a Kirby, but he will have better days. Ballymac Jester, I know yourself and Ian are keen on him, and the excellently bred Silent Cobby as well, son of Droopy Sydney and Ballymac Beanie, what a good bit she was. So I'm sure the future is bright for those guys. On to the second semi-final, and here's the dog so lightly raced. We've seen it before with Kildare, aka Mr. Chem, come into this competition unraced, bubbly charger. I mean, what can you say about him? He's only had a handful of runs. He's getting better and better with each run, and a comprehensive winner there on Saturday night, Tommy.
Yeah, there's no fluke about it. It's a really, really good performance. I actually had a small bet on Skywalker Shar each way on the night just because he was about 22
Yeah,
to
yeah,
1, I
big
think it
price,
was.
yeah.
I actually just backed him each way in a small bit. I just thought it was a type of one where there might be a tiny little bit of bumping and that sort of stuff. Nothing serious. It's almost exactly as it turned out. But Bubbly Charger was in charge of this early, and you just love the way he held his line because it was really really well contested into the first bend. There was a lot of them really tight together. You'd love the way a dog of his inexperience, and that's what I took out of the run the other night. Dog of his inexperience to run the bend as hard as he did when there was so much competition around it. I mean, like Lemon Joey was there up to the bend and probably very marginally in front. Solomio was there involved, going on the bend. Skywalker Shar wasn't far behind. But you know what? Like Lemon Joey has loads of experience. To hold your line hard against dogs like that, pups like that, when you got so little experience, it was a fabulous performance. It really, really was. Enough. I think Skywalker Shar was closing down late on and took it to 2 lengths or something. Um, but he's a power pack dog. That Skywalker Shard dog. He's going to win. He's going to win plenty of races down the line and probably over 550, 575 maybe. But this is like it just amazed me when you see a dog that can do that. And he's obviously a brother to the runner up in the first heat, Pain Barrier.
Yeah.
Like the matches have won this twice, and Graham Holland has won this twice as well. It'd be interesting to see if one of those can rattle off the hat trick. But you know what? They actually, I always remember when the matches had dogs in the latter stages of this competition in the past, they're always really, really well bred. Type of dogs you'd expect to go on and improve tons, wouldn't you?
Yeah, they do. Like these two, Bubbly Charger and Pain Bearers, are from that Tom's Delight line that they have, and even
Same line, yeah.
yeah, this Dolce Vita she produced. I think Wide Open was out of Table Topper. She's going well over in the UK, and a dog. I think he might be from this litter as well, called Deliveroo. I think he's out of Dolce. Well, that same like Dolce Vita as well. Yeah, you say the matches have won it twice. Skywalker Shar, Mark O'Donovan won this. His father, of
Mm.
course, Michael, they won this back in about 3 or 4 years ago with a dog
Sure
whose
you're up,
name I can't remember. Or Stone Park Leo, wasn't it? Stone
yeah.
Park Leo won it. Yeah, Skywalker Shar, I agree with you. I think his future will lie over a little bit further. Solo Mio for Peter Cronin. He came into this a little bit like Kildare, although we had two previous starts. Kildare came into this, Mr. Chelm, whatever we want to call him. He came into this similar to Bubbly Charger. He came in unraced, made it to the final, and finished third. Solo Mio is a half brother of Kildare, Mr. Chelm, by Caul and Tommy again. And look, 9-4 on the night was quite well fancied. Things didn't quite go his way, but there's definitely a big run in this dog.
Like things didn't quite go his way, but he still had to run some race to again, like Lemon Joey's not a tight dog, he's not going to run tight to the rails. He still had to ride a bump off Lemon Joey, and also then when he got drawn back a little bit, about three-quarters of a length or length, he got drawn back. You get a bump, you lose the momentum, dogs come up inside you. Like, he's left in a position where he shouldn't qualify, Solomio.
Yeah, yeah. For
That's what
one
you
of
love
his
about that performance.
yeah, for one of his inexperience, he done well to qualify, as you say.
That's what I love about it. Like I don't know. Everybody who watches Greyhound Racing watches with a different angle on the race, and I'm looking for something a little bit different. I often think the best way to study horse racing or Greyhound racing is to have an idea in your head what's going to happen beforehand. That's
Yeah,
to me
I'm
is,
way
is
around
if
that.
you were
Yeah,
going to be a punter. So I think, okay, yeah, I think if Skywalker Shar is not going to break, so I think the Bubby Charger got a great chance. But Lemon Joey's a nice bit of experience, probably has enough early pace to get up and around. So I watch the race and say, okay, I've put it in my head now after watching the other night. Well, Lemon Joey just doesn't have the early pace to get around at that level of competition, and that's maybe going to be a slight concern. And I think Solomio, I think he's got a difficult draw. Bubby Charger there. How is he going to get away from both of them? And I come away thinking, wow, he's a dog that's there's a little bit more even more about him than I thought there was about him. You look at
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I think if you are, and it's for anybody who does like a bet on greyhound racing or horse racing, I think you should do that. Every race you're going to have a bet on, study it properly, formulate in your head what's going to happen, and if it doesn't, if something surprises you, something is different, write that down or stick that in the back of the memory, and make sure you know it for the next time, so that it'll help you improve on what you're picking winners or finding winners of stakes or competitions or whatever you want to do. But I really liked Solomio after that. I thought he was entitled to get knocked out after what happened early. I thought he showed a great attitude.
yeah. He's definitely a nice one going forward. Of course, I backed Fun in the run anti-post each way at 66-1. First six places. Unfortunately, he went out. But I was talking to Michael Malone over the weekend. I've been in touch with Michael the last couple of weeks. He was disappointed, but look, the dog has brought him to some great places, and I'm sure he's not finished yet. Lemon Joey did appreciate the drop sort of back to his own age company. He will be winning races. But the one I take out of that from the ones that didn't make the final was Flight Club. Paul Hennessy's dog showed huge pace coming home. He looks a dog who will certainly appreciate the step up and trip. Before we go on to the final itself, Tommy, I just want to quickly mention a couple of winners of the Sean O'Connor stake down there. So before I mentioned that as well, Sid Buttons, it was nice to see him return back to form, winning in 32-33. I thought he was the dog that was going to have a big future going back maybe 6 months ago, and it's good to see him get back to winning ways. But the Sean O'Connor Memorial A1 stake, Tinahoe Papone won the first one, 28-40 for John Foxby, Blast Off Copper and Hardtail Rafa back in third place. And the other semi-final, a local win there for Go On My Boy for Teresa Cueva and Pat O'Connell. Millroad Victory back in second place and Abigail King back in third. That was one for the bookmakers, 28-59 at 12-1 shot winning. So on to the final itself. Again, it is live on Virgin Media this Saturday night. So let's take a look at the final. In 1 Bubbly Charger, 2 Soul Mio, 3 Pain Barrier, 4 Fate Point Ranger, in 5 Skywalker Sharp, and out in 6 the Soul Wide Seed, Droopy's Deploy. Tommy, once again we see one of these huge classic finals with an abundance of inside seeds. Sometimes you might see a real flashy starter out in trap 5, and you think if he can get out, he could cause all sorts of trouble heading to the turn. But I don't see Skywalker Shar being able to produce that sort of a start and get across and cause trouble. It's hard to look past Fate Point Ranger. I'd still give a squeak to Droopy's Deploy, and you can't rule out the other 3. I know Fate Point Ranger's going to be short, but you wouldn't want to be taking a silly price.
No, I wouldn't, because again they're all entitled to improve. You look at the number of runs. Bubbly Charger 4, Solomio 6, yeah, they're 5 only. The only Droopy's Deploy has a good bit of experience, 15 runs. I look at. I can't see myself tipping anything else apart from Fate Point Ranger, because I think actually, bar that Fate Point Ranger was in trap 1, I think it's pretty well set for a reasonably clear scene, and hopefully that's what it'll be final. Because like Bobby Charger, okay, he might step a little bit off, maybe tiny bit from trap 1, maybe not. Solomio went up fine from the middle the other night. Pain Barrier probably wanted the early pace to be getting in the way of the early pace. Fate Point Ranger tremendous early pace, and probably looks like he can get around. And now that's obviously key to his race is clearing Bubbly Charger early, because if you don't clear him early, I don't think he'll beat him. Skywalker Shar is not going to be, he shouldn't be interfering with anything early, because he just doesn't have the early pace. And actually, that means that Drewby's Reply, who's a middle seed, will have a little bit of room to operate in. He's fine early, but it's just at the first bend is where he doesn't dive in, but he cuts across. He cuts across to run a tight line. I just think that it actually should work out to be quite a clean race. And if not that the connections of the six Greyhounds will want this, but maybe the connection to Faith Point Ranger certainly will. If he flies out and gets around in front, it should make for a really clean race. But then it probably means the race is over too if Faith Point Ranger does that, because 27.98 and like that is not the extent of his ability. Then like you've got 28.19 Bubbly Charger. Like if you watched the run the other night, there's one or two things you take away from Bubbly Charger. Finally, you take away the fact that he's still strengthening up, which he should be. Or Skywalker. I keep thinking Fabian Shar. Skywalker Shar is Skywalker Shar is an absolute powerhouse, and that's possibly what he is. So because to run him down to 2 lengths, I think was impressive on Skywalker Shar's, from his point of view. But I think there isn't enough early pace in 2 and 3 in Solomon Mio, who has a bit of early pace, but not electric. There isn't enough early pace in 2 and 3 to hold a Faith Point Ranger early. So Bubbly Charger, if he wants to win this race, he's going to have to do it himself. He's going to have to fly out and do the work of preventing Faith Point Ranger getting around and getting clear early. It should be a cracking race. Oftentimes you say something's going to happen and you'll have to find a little bit of an angle for a bit of value. I know you might be able to find a bit of value, but I actually think the two favourites are going to dominate here, because I think the makeup of the race really suits that.
Yeah, look, it is hard to look past Faith Point Ranger. 3 of his 4 runs, he's doing sectionals in the 120s. I think he was 2 lengths clear of anything to the third bend on a sectional last week. So I think with a level start, he has the most natural early pace in the field. Yeah. But again, I wouldn't be backing him at even money or something silly like that. I would rather watch it. It's a cracking race to watch. It really is, even if you didn't have a financial interest. Still wouldn't ride off Droopy's Deploy. But then again, the other 3 on the inside are so lightly raced, aren't they? And they could just improve any amount. And as we say, the Matthews, they know what it takes to win down there. They've won it twice. Graham Holland has won it twice. Mark O'Donovan has won it. Rob Gleeson has won it. So, Peter Cronin, it's time for you to get your finger out and get a win here with Solo Mia. But look, we wish all the 6 finalists the very, very best of luck. It's going to be a cracking night's racing down in Limerick. Get there if you can, because you will witness some real superstars. Look at the dogs that have won this in the last few years, the likes of Sword Drex and Clonbrine Treaty, and last year even Nocky and Dazzler. What a great story that was for Dan O'Rahilly. So if you can get to Limerick this Saturday night, it'll be a terrific night down there. Lots of GAA interest as well, with the big money up on offer for them. So if you can get to Limerick this Saturday night, do, and the very, very best of luck to all connections with runners in the final and also in the final of the Sean O'Connor Memorial.
There's no excuse either for people not to be there. I was racing last week in Limerick at the horse racing, and there was a crowd of 14,000 students. Like, it was exceptional. I've never seen a crowd like it in a track in Ireland, or not for a very long time, apart from the biggest meetings. And in fact, there were more there in Limerick races the other day than you get the 2 days of Champions Weekend. And that'll tell you what they can do when people work to rally a few people around. So get a crowd down there and really enjoy that, because there is a great buzz for the Kirby Memorial, and it's a lot of money on offer.
A huge amount of money. And look, you will witness a superstar. Either way, you will witness a superstar. Right, Tommy, there was some other cracking action over the weekend in Irish Greyhound Racing circles. Down in Waterford, the Droopy Stud-sponsored Select Stakes, always a high-class competition. 2 semi-finals of that were run. The first semi-final was won by the Bernadette O'Connelly. What a wonderful servant this dog is. Down to business. He has winning form over 600 yards. He was actually tried over 6 spends as well. As too was Ballinabola Emma. She finished back in 3rd place. And Road Exile, very versatile sort. He's got great form over 2 bends, but once he didn't lead Down to Business, it was always going to be tough. But Down to Business went on to win well. There was a little bit of trouble in the race. A lot of other news took a fall, but I spoke to Sean Conway yesterday. He's up and he's none the worse for that. But Down to Business, Tommy, a good winner for Bernadette Connolly.
Yeah. Bernie Connolly's, she operates around this part of the country. She's an excellent trainer. And Down to Business has been a smashing dog. He's been traveling to Shelbourne Park. He's been traveling everywhere and getting results. And he just tends to win races. In fairness to him, was there a dead heat for 3rd? I don't know what got through on that.
I don't know. I haven't seen the draw yet. So Ballinabola Emma and Sinahi Boomer, but I've looked for the draw, so I'm not quite sure what's happening at the moment. Maybe it's going to be done today or even tomorrow.
Good to say, I thought Road Exile ran a cracking race in defeat as well. for a dog
Yeah.
he's an excellent sprinter. He's an excellent four bend dog, a 5 to 5 yard dog. I thought actually, sometimes when those sprinters when they get behind a little bit, you kind of worry where they finish up in a race. I thought he ran a super race in defeat too. But Bernie Connolly's a great operator, as I said, and down to business. What a dog he's been for her.
Yeah, I think he's won 11 times now, and rode excellent. As you say, for a sprinter, he doesn't really wave the white flag too easy. He's a
He
very
doesn't.
consistent sort. Speaking of consistent sorts, Seven Beach, we must give Seven Beach a bit of praise here. What a dog he has been for the Beach Boys trio syndicate and trainer Jennifer O'Donnell. He's been a two-time Derby semi-finalist. I think he ran up in the Tipperary Cup. He won the Gold Cup at the start of the year around Shelbourne Park. He's now into the final of a select stakes. He also won with the Racing Festival a couple of years ago. He's been a real superstar. I just say, two-time Derby semi-finalist. Bit of luck had his went away. He could have been a two-time Derby finalist, but once again, he's miles clear on the clock of the other semi-final. I know there was a little bit of trouble, but out and gone, Tommy. 5.5 lengths winner. Repeats that next week. He's going to be impossible to beat.
He he really ought to be, but he brings such an amount of class, doesn't he? He brings such an amount of
Oh,
class to the final. Like he broke well, but it was a good heat. And he
was, yeah.
absolutely rocketed into the bend. There was a little bit of trouble in behind. Barefoot and Song ran another cracking race, but Seven Beach was away and gone. I mean, down the back, he's must be 5, 6, 7 lengths clear and in complete command. He's a dog I've loved for a long time. We talked about him after he was very inexperienced when he was at Derby 2 years ago, and performed brilliantly to get to semi final. I didn't feel. I didn't feel he was in the same sort of form going into the Derby last year. He did before the Derby. He was in a great run of form, but just felt he was a tiny bit below it in the Derby. Still got to a semi final. I mean, he's a cracking dog. Wouldn't you love to own something like him?
Oh, absolutely. A 14-time race winner. He's heading towards, I think if he wins this weekend, he'll be knocking on €50,000 in prize money. A
Yeah.
great dog. A great weekend for Jennifer O'Donnell. The Dam of Seven Beach, Whiting's Gift. She had winners all over the place. Born Racer, we'll touch on now in a couple of minutes. They also had a winner in Shelbourne Park. She'd be the one in the Puppy Oak. So what a dam she's been, Whiting's Gift for Jennifer. Speaking of dams, we must mention Barefoot on Song, who was the Limerick's Oaks winner maybe a couple of months ago. She got to the final of the Easter Cup at Shelbourne Park only last week, and now she's into the final of the Select Stakes. She has a litter of pups on the ground that are about 6 or 7 months old, so that's some going. So well done to Paul Hennessy to get her back to this sort of form. Glengar Marta ran well back in third place. She hit form in Shelbourne Park last week. Big run. I think she clocked 28.08. So I don't have the draw for the final at the moment. Not quite sure what's going to get through in the other semi-final. Have they tossed the coin just yet? But as soon as we do, we will let you know on our socials. But it should be a cracking final down in Waterford next week. But no doubt that Seven Beach will go off the favourite. Now down to Cork, Tommy, the two-wheel training super sprint. Again, this was won by a son of Whiting's Gift. It was for John Mitchell, trained by Jennifer O'Donnell, born racer. He's one of the best sprinters around now at the moment. I know we don't have a huge programme for sprinters here in Ireland. It's a bit of a shame. But look, he's already won the Fair Warrior at Mullingar. He's now won this, and I think with the Island Bridge Sprint, I'll always call it the Peggy Kelly Island Bridge Sprint, as probably will you too. But the Island Bridge Sprint starting in Shelbourne Park, I think it starts next month. He could go a long way in that, but he was an impressive winner of this down at Cork on Saturday.
Well, if you ever want lessons on how to win a sprint, just look at that the other night. Just flew out of the boxes. He was in trap one, hugged the rails, and it's not like the trap one is always a huge advantage now. It's not the same as it used to be years ago
Yeah,
when it was a difficult box to win out of. But he just like I don't know where you pause the race. I'm trying to watch the video while I'm talking to you and tell you can pause the video. You can pause after about 3 strides. The race was over. He was in
yeah,
front and you could see he was accelerating rapidly. It was such a polished performance. And I know Satin Milo ran a cracking race in defeat. He really did. But like the winner was different class. There was a real swagger to that performance. Now I don't know what we have in terms of and we don't really ever really find out properly until we get to the bar one sprint
yeah,
in Dundalk what we have in terms of sprinters, because over the 400 yards it's kind of a you find out a lot of the 5 to 5 dogs, 5 to 5 yard dogs have figured out that it might be a little bit too far for them. They come back to 400 yards. This is 330. This is specialist sprinting, and that was like to do that in a final like that, worth 5,000 to the winner. I don't know. I thought it was a polished is the best way I can perform that. Really polished, perfect performance for a sprinter.
Yeah, look, he is consistent. As I say, he won the big event in the Mullingar Fair Warrior, and I'm sure the target will be the Island Bridge Sprint in Shelbourne Park. I think it starts next month. Nice prize money on offer, €5,000. So thank you to the sponsor, Two Wheel Training. Satin Milo ran well back in second place, takes home a decent €2,000 and €1,000 for Lonesome Pete, who finished back in third. But once again, congratulations to Jennifer O'Donnell and John Mitchell. A good weekend for you guys. Now, Tommy, we will switch to Shelbourne Park. We have the opening round of the Puppy Oaks there at Shelbourne on Saturday night, as well as some high class racing. Let's start with the Puppy Oaks, Tommy. There was only three semi-finals. Top four went through. Sorry, three quarterfinals. Top four went through. They will make up the 12 semi-finalists there next Saturday night. This Saturday night coming. She would have won again. Ballymac Wild out of Whiting's Gift. So that's a third winner this weekend for Whiting's Gift. Very, very well supported in the ring. 2-1 second favourite behind the unbeaten Magical on Fire. But as I say, four went through in here. You look at the bitch who finished back and fourth, Braveheart Bambi. She's a bitch with a huge future for Pat Buckley. She was very impressive in victory in there last week. Magical on Fire, she was 1 from 1 prior to this. She got in plenty of trouble, but still ran on to qualify. Ballymac Mint was another who won on debut, but she be the one. Experience told in this one. She tracked well. She won well in the end. But I think all four in this, Tommy, have a big future.
They certainly do, and I tell you, like you would not take that away from the winner. She had a bit more experience, and she won as she pleased. She won by a big margin, big margin for a race like this. But I tell you what, I actually love Magical on Fire. I absolutely love the performance because they're for one of little or no experience, one race going in there, got all sorts of trouble, and you think when you win on debut in fast time by a wide margin, you think well you don't really learn a huge amount from it. I thought she ran some hell of a race the other night to finish third. And that's what you'd be looking for again, like I talked about a minute ago. You're looking for something different in it. I'm looking to see, yeah, she mightn't lead. She'd be the one who had the experience. And I had plenty of class, don't get me wrong. Had plenty of class had shown it. But Magical on Fire, even though it's beaten 9.5 lengths, I think that's a hell of an effort to finish third. I really do. Really came
Yeah,
away thinking, you know
yeah,
what, she's going to be pretty special as the season goes on.
yeah. I think that's only her second start. It's the same with
Mm.
Ballymac Mint, her second start, and I think
Yeah.
Braveheart Bambi has only had 3 or 4 starts. So I wouldn't rule out any of those four going forward
Now,
in the next week, next
like
71.
we're not and we're not trying to overlook the winner either. Just because it has a bit more experience, you're not doing 29 or 28-18 unless you're top class. So I mean, she be the one had a bit of experience and did things right and showed that a bit of experience. But that's not to say that if any of the rest of them had got a clear run, they might have beaten her on the night. They probably wouldn't have. Twenty-eight
No.
eighteen is a serious effort. But Magical on Fire, I just took it away from that race, thinking, you know what, maybe this puppy oaks might be too soon and mightn't win this. But I tell you what, going through the season, I'd be keeping her on side.
Yeah, and you see it time and time again, Tommy. This time of year, bitches that run in the Puppy Oaks, they go on and they do really, really well in the All Age Oaks, which starts, I think,
Mm.
pretty much on the heels of this. I think Susie
Yeah,
Sapphire won it, and a couple of other bitches, maybe Front of Annie, and ran really well in the Puppy Oaks and went on to go well in the
mm.
Oaks. So yeah, I think, say as an odds compiler, as a starting point for what's going to win the Oaks, you'll be looking at this event and you'll certainly be picking 4 or 5 from it.
Well,
Go on.
yeah, you do pick up a nice bit of experience here too. I know it's only 3 runs, isn't it? But it's
Yeah,
still a nice bit of experience because you're in against, like, okay, they mightn't be polished performers at the moment, but you're in against top class. You know the ability of them. If they're entering this puppy house, they're not doing 29.50. They're doing 28.50 and 28.30 and whatever
And
else.
quicker, yeah, yeah. 28.50, you probably won't make the final. One
Mm.
that's going to be hard to keep out of the final is the ultra consistent Mina Minsk. Not last weekend, the weekend before, I was in there. I watched the race live, and to my eye, I don't think I ever seen a dog come out of the traps quicker. She posted a 198 sectional. If you have a look at this bitch's sectionals, Tommy, I don't know if you have the card open in front of
Yeah,
you in
I
there,
have, yeah,
but have a look at her last 4 or 5 sections.
yeah.
They're 198 twice, 2 seconds, 202. It's absolutely frightening what she can do from a trap, this bitch. Now, I believe she's sold. I was speaking with Nathan Hunt yesterday, so I believe the deal was done on Friday to buy her from Michael Corr, so she will be running for the Nathan Hunt Racing Club. I presume she's going to stay with Michael Corr for this event, but we wish the new purchasers all the best. They're going to have some fun with this one, Tommy, if she can keep on starting like that.
It's like they say, with Instagram things, where people run to the comments. The minute I saw her breaking the other night, I ran straight to her form to see what the sectional was, and then I went 2 seconds. And I go, gee, that's ridiculously fast these days. You don't see it that often. Then I went back a couple of weeks, 198 the week before, the run before that as well. And you kind of go, wow, and then 2 seconds before that. So four
Yeah,
runs in a row, and 2 seconds was the worst sectional. Like
yeah, I
that's
know. Yeah,
like it looked like I know you're saying it the previous run, but even the other night, and maybe because I'm not familiar with her, but like it looked like she came out under the bars and showed absolutely electric early pace, and she's out of Mina Miracle. Terrific
yeah,
bitch.
yeah. She was a cracking bitch for Mick as well. Yeah, 28:42 to win in time. But you know what? If you're doing 2 seconds and 198s, these sort of 28:40s don't really matter because you're going to be 2 or 3 lengths clear every night of the week, and it's a case of catch
Yeah.
me if you can. And look, she does that sectional again next week. Whether she's first or second, it's going to be hard for three of them to pass her, and she should make the final. She's been a real model of consistency in there, and running it in top 525s. This is sort of will you call it an easing grade, drop back to her own sex and puppy company. So she's battle hardened against some real good ones around there, and she could go a long way in this competition. As I say, best of luck to her new owners. Scarlett Ella ran well back in second, just briefly into the back straight. I was commentating there Saturday night. I just looked down to see what was second, and Mina Minsk had gone around with maybe three in hand, and all of a sudden I looked up and the gap was down to two, and I was going, well, this one could get close. But in fairness, she held a 2.5 length to Scarlett Ella. Borges Hazel ran well. I think that was the bitch that was running well in a Escorty. Is that right? Yeah, well,
Yeah, I tell you, just on the winner. In fairness to her, like her dam found trouble in the Derby final and flew home to be second, and she's got the most electric early pace. I didn't think she was stopping either. In fairness to her, the Birds bitch is the one that she was running in Enniscorthy is right, but like Mina Minsk been with Mina Miracle being a strong stayer and a track record holder, I think over further, wasn't she? One that at some
yeah,
track she
yeah.
was um have that early pace. Like
Have a
she's entitled. What age is she? She's June 23.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
entitled to strengthen up too.
It's only a baby. You're speaking about fast finishing dams that were unlucky in the Derby final. You can have a look at the bitch who finished fourth in that race. That dam wasn't a bad
Oh,
one either, was she? Crafty
oh,
Picaro.
don't talk to me. It was on crafted Kokoro too. Thanks for
Yeah,
that, Craig.
she has a nice little crafting choreo Premier Fantasy. I was speaking to Shane Dibley last week, Peter, sorry, and I think one of them quick one out that litter is just coming season, so don't think they'll have her back for the Oaks. Anyway, again, another four bitches who will make the semi final next week and have a nice future ahead of them. In the final quarter final, bit confusing, isn't it? 18 dogs in the quarter final. Here, Droopy's bundle went to traps. The 6-4 on favourite. She came in here with a record of 3 from 3. She unfortunately took a spill at the first bend. It's the second bend of the card, but I'm pretty sure it was the first bend. But she got up and she was after them. That's the main thing. It was Pom Pom, the impeccably well bred Pom Pom, Droopy Sydney out Jetstream Links, who I think opened her account 28.62. There was a bit of trouble in the race. I'm sure she can go much, much quicker. Ballymac Riddle back in second place. Cash Out Girl third, and Gem Friendly qualifiers, who incidentally is out of Susie Sapphire. So I think it's well, is it sort of an aunt and a niece,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that
Nice.
first
Yeah.
fifth. But yeah, the aunt beats the niece or the niece beats the aunt. I don't know. Well, it's something like that. But Pom Pom, yeah, well bred, Tommy, and I'm sure there's more to come.
Yeah, no, no, no. There is. We don't say too much about the way Owen McKenna can develop, getting to develop pom pom is impressive. It's good competition.
It is.
Even though it's relatively small number to speak, it's a good competition.
Yeah, it is. Pom Pom was a good winner. As I say, don't rely too much on the time there because there was a bit of trouble in the race. Now that's the three semi-finals again at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. There's always some really top class action. Just want to touch on a couple of the other races. The third race was the Barking Buzz Open 525, and here Infield Destiny got back to winning ways for Barry Clancy. I've always been a big fan of this dog, as too has his trainer Barry Clancy. He was runner up in the Juvenile Derby behind Callaway Kinnegar. And amazingly, he had a record of 1 win from 17. He ran in the Derby, he ran in all the big races, but he just bumped up against it. If there's trouble to be found, he'll find it. But he got it right on Saturday. Tommy, I don't know if you've seen the race, but he tracked clever to beat an Oaks winner, Flash Raid, who's on the comeback trail, and 28-22. It was a big run. He's a dog with a huge engine.
I think Flash Raid is a very unlucky greyhound in terms of she seems to get lost in the fact that she dead heated in an Oaks final, and we don't
Yeah,
seem to
yeah,
call
yeah.
her an Oaks winner. Don't is just me? Did that just seem to happen? She seems to get overlooked because
No,
was it a lucky, a
yeah,
lucky, a lucky Julie, a lucky Julie? I think was the dead heater with her. And
yeah, and she went on to do so well and get to the Derby
yeah,
final. So then, Lucky Julie was the Derby or the Oaks winner, Flash Raid, because she's been missing for a while. You sort of, yeah, you're right, you do forget about her.
You do because I think because I look at Julie was did so well in the Derby and was involved in so many headlines, you kind of think, oh, she was the Oaks winner from last year, but actually no, it was a dead heat and fast right around a cracking race in that final. Infield Destiny, yeah, you know second race win. You really need to be getting them on the card, don't you? Like
Yeah,
deserves them because it just. I know it's nearly impossible when you're taking on the very best of company, and didn't track perfectly in some ways the other night, but just class came through.
yeah, he's a very, very fast dog indeed. Reggie Roberts, Old Chicago, also clocked 28-22 on the card. I thought Conor Cover was very good in the eighth race, getting the better of Sober Secret. Hats off to the judge in the ninth race, a maiden open 5-2-5. Velvet Jenny, so versatile. She ran in that Plunkett Devlin 750 in Shelbourne last week when she led for much of the journey and was picked up maybe around the fifth and sixth bends by some real stars. She won by a short head and a head. It was a length back to the fourth, three quarters of a length to the fifth, and a neck to the sixth. So throw these in again next week. Just don't call it a maiden open. But I don't know if you've seen this race, Tommy. Velvet Jenny, she has form over further. She stormed up the inside. I was commentating. I think I said 3-1-4. It was 4-1-3. But hats off to the grader.
Hats off to Guerra, yeah. It's kind of level of competition. I'm not sure I make it those maiden races. I'll be honest about it, but it's kind of what racing should be on a Saturday night in Shelbourne Park. It should be that competitive. And also just wanted to give a mention to Ballyhooly Bruno, who's a cracking dog for Tom
Yes.
O'Neill. Tom O'Neill is an excellent trainer. Ballyhooly Bruno is in great form.
He he took the last in fine style. As I said, I was commentating. So when you're commentating, you're on the 600-yard line in Shelbourne Park, and you're up high, and you can see his not his early pace, but from say the 550 box into the bend, he was absolutely thundering up the inside. Really, really brave, squeezed his way through, and look, he was never in doubt. He was very well supported. You're looking at the card there, you're thinking, look at this Carmack King. He's going to go off very short favour. But the fact that Ballyhooly Bruno went off favourite shows there was big support from on the night. Jack Tavern Boom deserves a mention for the Pillar Syndicate. That's his first start outside of Puppy Company. He'd won a novice race in Shelbourne Park, went straight to the Kirby, and then come back to Shelbourne Park for this. And we have the upcoming Shelbourne Open 600. I think it starts this Saturday night, so I'm pretty sure all of those. Ballyhooly Bruno, Jack Tavern Boom. La Pepinillo, he'd won 5 in a row, believe it or not. That was his first defeat in well over a month. Carmack King, look, he's frustrating. He's very, very quick, but he just can't seem to get it right at traps. But I'm sure we'll have another cracking night's racing at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Tommy, before we wrap up, I just want to mention, not too sure if you've seen some of the trials from Toaster yesterday. We had some of the real stars of the back end of last year over there. I think Bombay Pat, Cheap Sandwiches, Bocco's Diamond, and a couple of the big English hopes. Wiki Ned, the English keep going on about this, but Bocco's Diamond was the fastest, 28:51. I think that's a track record if it was a race. But Wiki Ned, 28:53. Again, that would have been a track record again. Two cracking dogs. They're going to be in I think it's an invitational race this Sunday there, is it? Bocco's Diamond is in it. Boyle Sports Blue will be in it. I'm not sure if Cheap Sandwiches and Bombay Pat are going to be in it as well, but it promises to be a cracking race. But look, all of these dogs ran so well last year. It'd be great to see them have a tilt at the English upcoming derby.
Yeah, it will. I'm a bit weird when it comes to these things. I'm kind of nervous for Bacchus Diamond, even though I have no connection to him whatsoever. Just really loved watching him last year, how good he was and how he was able to do track records early in a derby and still go out and win a derby. And even when it was put up to him in a derby final, and I'm quite nervous for him. And there's no reason for it apart from the fact that when you see a dog that you've kind of you've elevated to be a superstar, you want him to
Be
be
that
that
superstar, yeah.
superstar. You want him to stay there,
Yeah,
and I don't know that you
yeah.
can you go through an English derby unbeaten? Can you get something wrong in an English derby and qualify and still qualify and then can you come back for an Irish derby? Like I don't know. I mean, fair play to connections. The dog has nothing to prove, and I know he didn't have a huge. What did he have? Maybe 15, 16 races last year, was it?
Well,
In
he's
total.
16 and 16 on the bounce now. I think, or he's 15 or 16 on the
So
bounce.
17 races. He got beaten on debut. So like it's ridiculous. It's stupid to say it, but I'm a bit nervous for the dog because I want him to achieve so much. And that's not against any other dog that's in any competition, but like he was so good last year. He was just a highlight. I mean, we were spoiled with Toronto Charlie last year as well,
Mhm.
and he was just such a superstar at a top level Buckers Diamond that I I don't want him to. I don't want him to ruin his legacy. Maybe that legacy is only in my mind. Of that brilliance, and maybe if he does come out and he does it again and wins the English Derby and goes on to win an Irish Derby, or which is probably asking a ridiculous amount. We'll talk about him forever and ever, but he was really, really, really ridiculously good,
Yeah,
and
he was, and he
I
still is.
hope he is. Yeah, I know, no. That's what I'm saying. It's just no sense to what I'm saying. There's no logic to why I'm like that. But it just,
That's standard on a Monday evening, Tommy.
no, it's standard full time. It's not just a Monday evening. I'm afraid, but I just you know what I mean. When you elevate him to such a level, because it's not every year you get superstars running, and he was a superstar last year, a real superstar. We spent our time. Maybe it's because we spent our time talking from early last year talking about this dog winning the Derby, and then you get nervous at the Derby, but like he hasn't achieved anything yet, really. And then he goes and wins the Derby in the style he did, hitting the track record, and then equaling us again later in the competition. Like he's as good a dog as I've seen for a long time. I'd go back as far as probably Premier Fantasy to have a dog that I think is as good as that.
Yeah, I think actually we spoke about Seven Beach earlier on the show. He was the closest to beating him in the time Greyhound Nutrition 550.
That's right, yeah.
He beat the head. That was a cracking race. But I think the night for me when he elevated himself to a real superstar was when he broke level with Carrick Aldo, who is a fantastic greyhound, a big fan of Carrick Aldo.
Your favourite dog.
Yeah, and he ran away from him into the third bend, and you're going, wow, what is this? And stayed on. You'd just be a little bit worried maybe about the long run to the pickup over in Toaster, but look, hopefully.
I worry about everything when it comes to the English Derby. I really do. And particularly, but then again, we think every year you've got to find a different type of dog for the English Derby and all this sort of stuff. But like this fella could have the constitution of a lion. He really could.
He could do,
And actually,
yeah.
go back to Carrick Aldo. What a greyhound he was as well last year. I think we were spoiled last year. We had a whole host of top dogs through the year, and then elevated by Doc the Diamond top of the pile. Tuono Charlie probably not much behind him, and then a whole host of really really top dogs. I still think, and I mentioned this isn't blowing smoke or anything like that, but like I still think your pick Carrick Aldo, and I was a huge fan of the dog. Couldn't see him as a Derby dog. Like, in fairness to you, I know he did get knocked out in the semi final. I still think it was a great pick. Was it? I still think it was a great pick. I really do. At the price he was 100 to 1 or something. I think it was when you might have
a little bit of 150, Tommy.
Ouch! You back to each way, didn't you?
Yeah, 4-6, and then you just stop. Right,
well,
before we go on.
No, see, like he was another. We were spoiled last year. We really were. When you think about the dogs we had, we were spoiled.
Before we wrap up, there's great racing at Toaster on Sunday. The final of the Maiden Derby, Val Tashadelic, Lenny's Desire, Hello Diego are in that, and then that's going to be a cracking invitational sponsored by Time Greyhound Nutrition. But most importantly, if you can get to Limerick this Saturday night, you're going to witness a superstar, €80,000 up for grabs. If you can't make it there, it will be live on Virgin Media TV. Tommy, before we go, did you stay up to watch Rory last night?
I did.
Did you think he was going to blow it?
I had him backed as well. I had backed three golfers, himself, Morikawa, and Oberg. And like at 4 shots clear, I'm thinking, and it was nearly going to go to 5 when the Rose got up to 10 under. It was nearly going to go to 5 because Shambo was having a mare. And like thought he'd blown it about 4 times. He'd blown. Then I thought, that shot into 16. I think it was to go shot clear again. And I thought that's it. It's all over. And then that 4.5 foot putt on 18. I mean, and then to have to put the ball inside Rose on the first playoff hole, it was like magical stuff. If you hadn't backed Rory McIlroy, it was magical stuff to watch. It really was. What a game that golf is.
Yeah, stop. Yeah, I can't play it. I backed 4 golfers and every one of them was back at home by Saturday morning. Listen, Tommy, thank you very much for your time here on the Monday evening. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, get to Limerick if you can this Saturday night, and also give Barry Drake a listen to his podcast on Thursday afternoon. That's it for myself and Tommy. Have a good week, and we'll chat to you again soon.
This podcast was brought to you by Greyhound Racing Ireland.